Hey guys, it's Eric Crownover from Nerdy Geek Talk, search for all your nerdy geeky needs. Here with episode 2 of NGT Interviews. This one is NGT TFU interview because we like wait, what is that called? What is it abbreviations or
That would be portmanteau, I think, right? Like we're taking two things and kind of combining them together.
oh yeah, I guess. We just like to have a bunch of letters in our title. Yeah, but joining me today, we have Anthony Brucale from TFU.Info. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great.
That's good. That's good. I have not told you any of the questions for today. So, everyone who's listening will know that all of these are very genuine. I did not warn him about anything, although he did listen to the past episode, so he does know some of the questions. But, you know, I like to keep it genuine. I don't want to give you too much time to come up with, fake answers because that's totally something you would do, right?
No, 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 no. We're all about having the real answers. I
Oh, yeah.
think especially doing TFU.info for so long, like you don't want to be wrong because you'll just get emails for years about how you're wrong.
I, I can say that I have not had that personal experience, but I can imagine that you have many, many times. But for those who haven't listened before, we have two different types of questions, sets of questions I'm going to ask. There's six of each. They're in rounds of three. There'll be just regular questions and then rapid fire. Regular questions, he can take as much time as he wants to answer. The rapid fire, he has to say immediately the answer that comes to his head. He can't think about it. Michael on our first episode was very bad at that on some of the questions. So do your best to not think and just say what pops into your head first. If it changes later, that's fine. Everyone will understand. But don't
Okay.
don't take 10 minutes to decide what your favorite TF Transformers continuity is. All right. Well, I already said your name, so that's question one out of the way. And then, for the sake of because the fact that Nerdy Geek Talk is primarily made of a younger generation is the only reason I ask. But when were you born?
So I was born in 1978, so I just turned 40 years old a few months ago.
Wow. Happy belated birthday. I
Thank you,
don't
thank
I,
you.
I don't know when your birthday is, so I don't feel bad about missing it.
No, no, you're like 4 months off. You're fine.
You know what? That's close enough. It's not six, so it's not half yet. Um, and then next question is, what do you do in life?
What do I do in life? Well, professionally, I am a video producer for a very large accounting firm. I used to work in broadcast television in news and sports. I am also a husband and a dad, and that is about what I do in real life.
Yeah, congratulations on being a dad. I think this is the first podcast we've done together since then, or am I wrong about that?
No, that sounds about right. My daughter's only 3 months old, just last week, so yeah, that would be correct.
That is awesome. All right. So first, rapid fire. Favorite Transformer.
Wheeljack.
Favorite Autobot that isn't Wheeljack.
Um, Swerve.
That's interesting. Favorite Decepticon.
Favorite Decepticon. Let's go Thundercracker from the IDW continuity.
That's very interesting. Most people like because you had Wheeljack ready instantly as your favorite Transformer. Most people wouldn't have to think about the favorite, other faction either. Most people have definitive answers. So
Yeah,
that's
I
actually kind of
don't.
interesting.
I don't, but I love John Barber's Thundercracker. So I think that has become my favorite over the last few years.
He's the greatest Thundercracker for sure ever. I will give you that. He's one of my favorite Decepticons as well. So, all right. Next question. How did you first get involved with the Transformers fandom? So not necessarily because I know you grew up with G1, but like when did you first get involved with the fandom in particular, not just the franchise?
All right, so I'm gonna sound old probably to a lot of people here, and but all right, so I would say getting involved with the online fandom was probably back. It was back. I was back in college. I was in my freshman year of college. Um, I had caught an episode that was the second to last episode of season one of Beast Wars. It was on really early in the morning before I had a class, and I was like, "Oh my god!" And I loved Transformers growing up. I was a big comic book fan and cartoon fan, and so I was like, oh my god, they're back, kind of thing. And um, I remember I then went to the store and picked up a figure. Then like the next day, no, I'm sorry, I went to McDonald's on my way home on the bus, and they were doing the Beast Wars promotion, and I got myself a Rhino in a Happy Meal, and so from there I was just kind of learning about the internet because this was 1997, so it was kind of right where the internet was becoming a regular thing. And I used to go to the computer lab at my college, and I found out about news groups, and then from there I was just doing some like searches with probably with Yahoo, early versions of Yahoo, and found all these websites. One I remember particularly well was my friend James Hooks. He had a fan fiction site called Beyond Imagination, and Ben Yee's site, and then I kind of became involved with All Toys Transformers and figuring out first how to post to Usenet back then, and then once you leaping over that barrier, really becoming involved in the fandom that way.
Hmm, that's very interesting. And so I know you said your first BotCon was only 2 years after that in 1999, right?
That's correct. My first BotCon was 1999. It was in St. Paul, Minnesota. It was the same weekend, and it's funny how like you tie like news events to it. It was the same weekend that JFK Jr.'s plane crashed into the ocean, and it was the same weekend for sports fans. David Cone of the Yankees threw a perfect game.
And I'm pretty sure it was the week I was born as well.
Jesus.
I think we figured didn't we figure that out before? Because I was born July 23rd, 1999.
I think it was in June of that year, so it
Oh,
was
was
probably
it? Okay,
just
so
before
but
you were
it was
born.
still around the time. So I wasn't even born at your first BotCon then. Wow.
No.
That's the goal here is just to make you feel old. That's actually the entire point of this.
Oh
No,
wait. When's your birthday? July what?
23rd,
Okay, so it was roughly a week before you were born.
a week before, so a week
Yeah.
afterwards. All right, I'll take it. That's better than a month. Uh, so what would you say right now, at least, your primary role in the fandom is?
Oh, I kind of have a whole bunch of roles, but my primary role right now is it's the podcast. It's the as host of Transformers University podcast. It's also as webmaster of TFU.Info, which I've been running since 2002. Um, those are probably my two main roles in the fandom, and then of course Toy Fair coverage, and New York Comic Con coverage. Those are my other big events, and hopefully my YouTube channel as well. So there's I got a lot going on, a lot of things juggling.
You're a busy man. Uh, is it true you run the website by yourself, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I would say it is probably 95% me running it by myself. I mean, especially all the back end stuff, the page
Hmm.
coding, the photo editing, everything else. The other, 5% is probably a low number, but I mean, I've always taken photo submissions from people.
Yeah. Hmm.
So because I don't have everything, and I certainly can't afford everything. That's always been something people have been kind enough to send in photos to help fill out the gaps in the archive.
The only reason I ask is because I had the misconception as well before I actually met you. And I know that a whole bunch of people still do now because, tons of people within the fandom just know of your site because it's a pretty common place to visit, if you're just searching around for stuff. I just assumed that multiple people ran it, sort of like the TF Wiki, that kind of stuff, where there's like, several people just running the site just because, there's so much stuff there. So I had no idea until I actually met you that it was just a one person thing, basically. I've told several people that too whenever they talk about the site, and like I'll mention you, and I'll be like, "Yeah, did you know he runs it by himself?" And everyone's just like, "Really?" So I just thought I'd clear that up because I know that at least within, especially a lot of younger fans, they do know of your site, but they have no idea, who runs it or anything, and a lot of them just have the assumption that it's multiple people because it's a lot of work. So
Yeah, it is a lot of work, and I probably don't help myself because I usually, when I write for the site, I refer to the site as we, because it's a site for my fans, for the fans of Transformers, and if you're a fan of the site, then I consider you part of that we. So I don't necessarily present it as, oh, look what I'm doing. It's like, look what we've accomplished. This is
yeah,
this is a site for the community. So it's always a we kind of thing.
yeah, I think that's a good way to phrase it. Uh, and then, what would you like to be known for in the fandom? like we're assuming like long in the future or something. Like, what would you like people to like look back and remember whenever they think of Anthony Brucale from TFU.Info?
Oh man, um,
I know
I don't know.
it's a deep question.
That is a very deep question. I mean, I would. I'm the guy that found the first photo of Beast Wars Neo Bazooka, which is totally not something I want to be remembered for. Just to point out, like how we used to find things like this, like they would get posted to a website or they get dumped in a folder, and someone found like all these Beast Wars Neo images of things that were coming out. And so me and my friends were all online looking at it, and I just kind of noticed the naming convention, so I just started adding a number to the end, and one of them worked, and that's how we found the photo for Bazooka. Uh, but to be known for anything, I mean the site TFU.Info, the site and the podcast, I think those two things would be I'd be totally happy with being remembered for.
Okay, that's fair. All right, some more rapid fire. Masterpiece or Generations?
Generations.
Bisque or Thermidor?
Thermidor.
Wow, that actually shocks me. Favorite food?
Favorite food? Chicken, grilled chicken in pasta with broccoli and oil.
Okay, you pass. The only point of that question isn't that I really care about your favorite food. It's just so you don't say lobster.
Oh,
That's all that matters. Uh, I'm very shocked that you picked Thermidor.
I, I like the idea of the blue lobster. Back when I worked in news, there was this news place I worked for called HD News, which is no longer around, but it was the first all high definition news channel. And we used to have these bureaus around the country. And we had a bureau in Miami, and what they would do is they'd shoot 3 or 4 stories in a week and then send all the tapes up to New York, and we would work off their scripts and we would edit something together. And one of the things we did back then, I had a video about lobster fishermen off the coast, and one of the things we had is they found a blue lobster, and it's rare. It's not that rare, but they're rare because they're like albino lobsters.
Hmm.
And so I love the fact that we have a transformer of one.
Uh, yeah, they actually have a blue lobster at my zoo now in Pittsburgh, which they didn't before until like this is post me being obsessed with Bisque and Thermidor. So I thought that was kind of funny that they got that recently. But there's also a picture of a part blue and part like orangish reddish lobster. It's actually the background of the Steel City Bots Twitter page.
Neat.
But yeah, so that's interesting though. Um, let's see. Okay, what is your favorite artist or entertainer? This is just a personal question, not necessarily having to do with Transformers, really.
Probably Kevin Smith.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, yeah. Is this rapid fire, or are these the long form ones?
Oh, these are the long ones. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, yeah, no, definitely. It would probably be Kevin Smith. I think I followed his career since I was probably your age, and he's always someone that like he just listening to his podcast and not so much his movies anymore, but just his mindset is something I try to emulate at times. Just being able to go out and say why not, and go and do things and do it because you just want to do it, not because people are going to see it or not see it or whatever, or like it or hate it. Who
Hmm.
cares? Just do it for yourself, and then the good things will follow after that.
Nice. Uh, Next one is because I know you love to put music into the show. What's your favorite album? Not necessarily the album has your favorite song. What would you say is your favorite album? Like if you could only pick one to listen to, ever again, you can listen to the entire album. What album would it be?
Oh, that's actually an easy answer. So it's a band called Life of Agony, and the album is called River Runs Red. I have christened every new piece of musical equipment I've ever gotten with it, so it is my all-time favorite record.
I am adding it to my library now so I can listen to it. All right. And then last one of the longer questions is what would you say is your greatest weakness?
Oh, my greatest weakness. Um, I think that it's funny because I want to say that I don't want to say I don't want to say like my temper, quote unquote, because I try to look at the long picture, but sometimes it takes a minute for me to get to that, and so sometimes my initial reaction can be negative when I don't want it to be. and I have to, I've kind of learned to dial that back. So I think that would be my greatest weakness is to not looking for the positive right away.
Okay, that's definitely fair. That's not the worst thing that you could have as your weakness, so I'll give you that. All right. So,
Also, chocolate. Chocolate is one of my other weaknesses.
okay,
Yeah.
that one's quite reasonable. Uh, some more rapid fire. Uh, First one is Cyclonus Skywarp or Bombshell?
Cyclonus is Cyclonus.
No. Okay, fine. Be like that. What's your favorite Transformers continuity?
My favorite it would be G1 via Beast Wars.
That's okay. That's interesting. I like that. What is your favorite way of enjoying Transformers? Like toys, shows, comics, movies, etc. Like, what's your favorite medium to enjoy the franchise from? I
I
guess.
I, I guess my favorite one. This is so true. This is tricky for a rapid fire one. I'm gonna just say shows because they're TV because it's the easiest way to consume. It's a half hour. You're in and out. You're done.
Or it's 15 minutes now.
Yeah,
Have you been watching Cyberverse?
yeah. I'm all caught up.
Oh, it's so good. I think.
It's gotten better. It's gotten much better.
Yeah,
I'm
like
not.
I wouldn't say it at the strongest start, but like by the end, my goodness, I very much love it.
Yeah, I would say my one knock on that show is the voice acting and the a little bit of the animation budget, which I'm okay with it having no backgrounds and things like that. But the voice acting is kind of hit or miss.
Hmm.
Like Bumblebee's pretty good, Windblade's really good, but then like their Megatron and their Optimus are kind of hit, kind of so. There's some inconsistencies. They don't say Teletran one the same, and I absolutely hate the Bumblebee can't talk trope because it just doesn't work.
I do like that his voice actor is the one who does all of his clips, though, Jeremy
Yeah,
Levy.
but
But
I
no,
like
yeah,
it,
yeah.
but
But with the show itself, yeah,
there's no frame of reference for them because they're not the original clips or they're not whatever they intend them to be. So
yeah.
they come across kind of muddied and it doesn't really make sense why Bumblebee can't talk, but he can make all these sounds. That's one of those ones that just kind of irks me.
Well, I think we're gonna find out why, because Windblade implies that he forgot how to talk, but I think it might have to do with something about Megatron not being around for some reason at all. But anyways,
Yes.
uh, getting on to regular questions, who is your favorite Transformers voice actor? That was surprisingly
Ooh,
relevant.
that is a good question. I am gonna go with. Oh man. I'll go with. Oh God, what's his name? Hold on, his name just blanked out of my head. R.I.D. Grimlock. He's on The Walking Dead.
I know
Sorry.
who. Oh,
Yeah,
I couldn't remember his name for a second either.
yeah, yeah. Kari. I'll go Kari Payton.
Really? That's why. That's cool. That's a very interesting choice. I'm not. It's not bad. I just that is never what I would have guessed in a million years.
I think because he brings a. I mean, I'm really just pulling that one out. I mean, I could easily have said Rob Paulson, even though he really isn't much of a Transformers voice actor. I mean, he's
Uh
had
huh.
two very minor roles. But Kari Payton just because I feel like he gave that Grimlock character a lot more life than it was really written for, and there was a lot more fun in his like he was fun and stupid, but he was also big and strong, and that's a lot to convey in just a voice, and being able to pull it off was really cool.
Yeah. No, I love that choice actually. Um, this one you probably don't. You definitely don't have the answer to. But give me a guesstimate. How many Transformers toys do you have?
You know, a guesstimate. I couldn't even. My sister was visiting from out of state about 2 weeks ago, and she asked me, and I said, "She's like, you think you have more than 1,000?" I'm like, yeah, that's like a quarter of what I have. So I won't give you a number, but I'll put it this way. So when I got married, when I got married, I was living in a two-bedroom co-op, which is kind of like a condo. And I had one room that was the TFU.Info office, and it was where I had the computer that did the website, and I had um, my entire collection displayed, and I boxed it all up. Um, and there are, and I when I did, I was like, I'm keeping track of everything here. So I made a whole bunch of boxes, and there was a couple things I kept for when we made our second move, when we sold that and bought a house.
Mhm.
And so the first set of boxes goes, I think they're numbered 1 through 25 of bins of like I don't know, those really big plastic bins that you would see in like a Target. So there's 25 of those, and there's probably another four that when I moved the second time, I didn't remember where I left off numbering them, so I started at 100 and worked backwards. So yeah, a lot.
All right, that's fair. I was gonna say I was not sure how you would go about answering that question whenever I wrote it, but I was like I kind of have to because I know that he's got too many to be able to simply answer the question. So
Can we say one garage? I think that's is that a quantifiable number? One garage?
I mean I think it's relative, but you know what? I think people get the idea. You know, they'll get the picture. And then here's another one. If you could get any single Transformers toy in the world, like without buying it, like you just any single toy that you don't have that you could get, it could be, I don't care how many there are, like if there's any available online or not. If you could get anything that exists, it just can't be made up. As long as one exists in the world, what would you get?
All right, so I'm going to say that I did have a, not that I prepared this answer, but I thought about it when I was listening to you interview Soundjack. And my answer for this would be, and this is really obscure. You're probably gonna have to check the wiki for it. In '99, they did in Japan. They did a contest giveaway of five pastel-colored versions of the main Maximals. So it was like it's where the pink Galvatron comes from, the pink and purple the Galva-Leo convoy.
Oh, that's where that comes from?
Well, that, but then there were that one they actually made into another contest prize if I'm remembering this correctly. But there were also versions of Scuba and Apache and I think Bighorn and Diver, which is so Scuba is Clawjaw, the Clawjaw mold. Apache is Baboom, the molds, not the characters.
Hmm.
Diver is the Spidor mold, the original Spidor mold, and who did I leave out? Bighorn, who was the Beast Wars Bone Crusher mold, and they were like in pastel colors. And I saved the image years ago, and I'm like, I would love. I've never even seen them show up anywhere, like on YouTube or on like hey, I won this when I was a kid and took photos of it, or something from Japan of like actual physical versions of them. So I don't even know if they exist, but those would be the ones I would want if I could have any.
Interesting. I like that you prepared an answer. That's the one question that I think it would be definitely fair to give some time to prepare because that's not. There's a lot. It's pretty open ended, but. All right. Some more rapid fire. Favorite mammal.
Polar bear,
Favorite reptile.
Triceratops,
That's a good one. Favorite color.
uh, red.
I find it amusing the things that you hesitate on versus don't, like how you hesitated on color a little bit versus like mammal and reptile. I don't know. I just find that interesting that you're more sure of your mammal and reptile over your color.
Yeah, yeah. It's a good point. Yeah, I don't know. I just went with the first thing that came to mind. The problem with color is that, like, I was thinking blue. I'm like, the site's blue. I'm wearing a blue shirt. I'm like, but no, wait. Every car I've ever had, for the most part, except for my first one, was red.
Maybe
Like,
you
I
just like getting
like.
pulled over.
No, yeah, I like red, so I'm gonna go red.
Okay, okay, that's fair.
My desktop background's red at work. I use like a red theme on my computer. Yeah, I would say red.
I mean, if your favorite two colors that you were going to go to are blue and red, then I can respect that because they make my favorite color. So, okay, regular questions. What Transformers show means the most to you?
Beast Wars. That's the
Really?
one that, yeah, it's the one that brought me back to the fandom. It's the one, not even just from the show standpoint of what a good show it was, but from a personal standpoint of like all the friends I made because I enjoyed Beast Wars and like the online fandom and the, the close friendships that I still have to this day. We've been to each other's weddings. We try to get together when we're in each other's towns. it's a lot of the folks that you hear on my podcast because they have other things that they do. We all met because of Beast Wars, so that would be the one.
Wow, I like that a lot. And then there'll be the people that are like, but you only got Beast Wars because you were into G1. But that's the excuse with all continuities as well. So everything is
Yeah,
technically owed to G1, but there's different things that
yeah,
go
and
into
then
it.
but Beast Wars on its own, even if you remove the G1 elements from it, I mean, I don't know if you can remove them from season two, but
Yeah,
um, you could. I mean, yes, it's tied to G1 in a lot of ways, but I don't think it's good because of the tie to G1. It
yeah,
was good before it had a tie to G1.
interesting. Do you know of Bobby Skullface?
Yes, I've heard him on his other what's his podcast?
Shattered Cast?
Shattered. I've heard it. I've listened to it a couple of times. So yes, I'm familiar.
I was gonna say because he does videos on his channel. I mean, he does plenty of reviews, but he's been doing more discussion based videos. I really do like him. He did one on why he doesn't like Beast Wars, or like why he like, but it's very objection like he makes it very clear that like Beast Wars is good and everything, but his points are very interesting. I might have to send you the video just to see what you think of it. Just because it's almost like I don't know. It's like he gives his personal reasons why he doesn't like it in the franchise, but he like does it. He admits like it was important, it's good, and all that. But it's very interesting, and it certainly is controversial among people who watch it. So I'm just very
Yeah,
curious what you think of it.
yeah. Send it my way. I mean, I've found over the years that there are people who will just do a lot of mental gymnastics to try to find a reason to dislike Beast Wars for what it was, regardless of the effects of it on the continuity, or on the brand, or on the line. Like it's honestly, it's a good show even without
Oh
the
yeah,
tie to G1. Like if the only thing that's keeping you from enjoying is the fact that they turn into animals, then maybe you're the one that needs to reassess.
yeah,
like,
yeah.
but I haven't seen Bobby's video, so I can't really
Yeah,
speak
he
to
gets
whatever
he
he
gets
spoke
he
about.
gets much deeper into it. That's why, because like most takes, whenever it's just like I hate that they turn into animals, I'm just like, well, I don't know if that's a reason to hate, the entire thing or like say it's bad. But no, his is much more in depth. I still don't know if I'd agree with it, but it's still very interesting. Yeah. So next question: what made you want to start TF University? Which again, I didn't learn until somewhat recently was TF University. I always thought it was like TFU University or like T. I don't know. I never realized that the title was spaced the way it was before. I thought it was just
Uh,
TFU University.
Oh, I see. It could be too. I just saw the letters in my name. And it's funny because that started. I didn't even have the name Transformers University at first when I first kind of tried to do it, and I did. We did it on Radio Free Cybertron as Transformers 101. At one point, I think it was episode 3 or 400. It's one of the round number ones,
Hmm.
and I pitched it to Brian as an idea, and then I just didn't have time to work on it. And then it was always in my head, like I got to do this. And I listen to a lot of podcasts in my commute because I have a fairly long commute. So I listen to podcasts going and coming, and I would just sit there listening. I'm like, really, I really need to do this. This would be fun, and it gives me a chance to explore a lot of the pieces of fiction that I never bothered to, or never really thought I would have time to, or the inclination to. And so that's kind of what gave me the impetus for it. And then what gave me the final push to actually do it was there was that announcement of the Toys That Made Us was being made. Um, I dropped them a line saying, "Hey, I want to. I used to work in TV. I have 3 Emmy awards. I want to be a part of this show. I know a lot about Transformers. What can I do to help? Do you need?" I was looking for freelance editing work. Honestly, I thought maybe I would get a chance to edit it, and they were like, "We don't need editors, but we need consulting producer. And can you send us something like if can you?" And I'm like, well, I'm going to start drafting this document. I started with like this 8-page document on 1984, which eventually became like the first 3 episodes of Transformers University, and I sent that over. They loved it, and that's how I ended up working on the Transformers episode of The Toys That Made Us. That was the last push, and then after I did that, I was like, I got to keep going. I'm enjoying doing this, and I just from there, that's how it went.
That's awesome. I didn't realize it was so tied to that. So, how far along was TF University by the time HasCon rolled around?
I had just launched. That was September 2017, right?
Yes.
So I had just launched probably just before that. I had 4 episodes ready to go before I
Okay.
started, and so I think episode 4 had just either. I think I had put out episode 4 just as HasCon happened.
Okay. Just because I remember, because that was the first time I met you, and I remember you like you putting out cards and stuff for it. I was like, I remember that that was like the very beginning, but I couldn't remember like how early or like Okay, that makes sense. Cool.
Yeah, because I started right after my birthday. My birthday's in September, and I started right after my birthday for the first episode. So there was So that must have been 3 weeks later. So yeah, we're probably episode 4 was probably up or about to go up.
Cool. Um, and I gotta say that your podcast has quickly become my favorite Transformers podcast. It is just it's so in depth, and I learned so much. Like it's just so well put together. Like man, good job.
Oh, thank you so much. That really means a lot to me, and it's funny because I love listening to Nerdy Geek Talk. I listen to you guys on like I said, on my commute, and it reminds me, talking about how important Beast Wars is to me. Listening to you guys talk about whether it be movie or the toys or whatever, it brings me right back to my days on IRC we used to. I'm part of like a fan group. Though we were called Ouija, WIIGII exclamation point,
hmm
and that we are kind of like we've all gone and done things. A lot of us have gone on to do things within the fandom, important stuff like the TF Wiki was born out of Ouija.
Yeah.
um, yeah, I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot of us, and we still keep in touch. But like hearing you guys reminds me of me and my friends at your age. So it's really great what you guys do.
Thank you. Means a lot. Uh, so the other question I have is if you could have any guest on your show, TF University, who would it be?
Oh,
Anyone.
tra- anyone or just Transformers related?
Uh, you can give both. Just because I'm curious what your non-Transformers one would be.
Oh, I don't know what my non-Transformers one would be.
Okay, you can give just Transformers if that's what you're thinking. But
Yeah, my, I would love to get um I would like to get Rob Paulson on the show, even though he wasn't really a voice on. I mean, he was a voice on G1, but he had such minor characters. But
yeah.
I would love to get him on to talk about some of the people that he worked with that are no longer with us,
hmm
and kind of getting a sense for like what Chris Latta was like and what Scatman Crothers was like, and those folks, the voiceover guys from G1 that were gone before the internet age began, before people could start doing interviews and putting them on YouTube or doing podcasts. Those are the folks I really want to know about.
Yeah. Okay, that's interesting. All right. Some more rapid fire. Rich or famous?
Oh, definitely Rich.
Thank you. All right. Most
Famous is
important.
too much work.
Yeah, no, that's what I thought. Especially if you're not
Yeah,
rich, it's like you don't even get like the main benefit from it. You just get all the bad stuff, in my opinion. But
yeah. No, I want to be left alone sometimes. Just yeah,
yeah,
let's go Rich.
you need space. Most important Transformers moment.
Good one. Are we talking within the fiction or personally?
You pick.
Okay. Uh, Most important in my personal life, and this goes back to pre-internet and but it's kind of the spark for a lot of this. Was a conversation I had with my buddy Greg when we were in junior high. So we're talking early 90s, 92, 93. I'm hanging out on his front porch, and he was the only person I ever knew that kept his Transformers like around. Like I had mine in a box in the basement at that point in my life, and he had like Triptychon and Sideswipe in his room at all times. And I remember we were talking about Transformers, and he was a big guy into into the cartoon, and I was just finishing the comics. I think that was like right around the time the comics were ending, and I was still reading the comics then. And then we were just talking back and forth for like 2 hours about the differences. Like he'd tell me, like, I didn't remember a lot of the cartoon. I'm like, oh man, it's, but people actually die in the comics and this and that. And just that conversation and knowing that was like a way to communicate about it. And then immediately when I had just had gone online for the first time and read All Toys Transformers and seen that there was this fandom out there, um, it felt the same way. It brought me right back to that day. And so that would be my one personal Transformers moment. As far as the fiction goes, let's say the death of Dinobot.
Okay, that's a good one. And then last one is Optimus Prime or Megatron.
um, Megatron.
Huh. That's not what I
This is
thought you were
We're
gonna
still in
pick.
rapid fire,
Yeah,
right?
no, that's
Yeah.
rapid fire. That's just interesting. That is not what I thought you would have picked.
Optimus
Uh,
is boring.
I
He's
no, I don't
Superman.
get me wrong. I would also pick the same thing. I was just surprised. I agree, but I just feel like almost everyone would pick Optimus Prime because they want to be good. No, okay. So regular questions. If you could change anything about the Transformers franchise, what would it be?
Um,
And that could be
it,
present day or it could be something in the past. But when I wrote it, I was thinking of the present day.
that we got this Bumblebee movie back in 2007.
Okay. Do you think it would have been the hit that the '07 movie was?
Uh, it's a good question. Maybe not. Okay, so maybe if we got this, let's revise that. We got this Bumblebee movie as the follow up to as the first sequel.
I think that's a better. I was gonna say
Yeah,
because I've heard a lot of people say would replace it. And I'm like, I don't think that's the the greatest idea. I understand where you're coming from, but like when you look at the Transformers franchise, the '07 movie is a pretty integral thing that needed to happen, at least similar to the way it did. You know?
yeah. I think expanding on the robot characters was the key for the sequel, and they didn't do it. And
Hmm.
like if you look at good superhero sequels, like one of my favorite superhero movies of all time is X2.
Hmm.
And the reason I loved that movie when it came out is that you got past all the pretense. You didn't have to explain who Wolverine was, who Storm was, who Rogue was. You got past all that. You could jump right into action, add in one or two new characters, and just keep going and learning and growing that group. And that's what needed to happen in the second Transformers film, and it didn't. And I think that's where, like something similar to the current Bumblebee film, with maybe a few more, uh, you know, pre-Cybertron, early Cybertron stuff, or a few more characters that you could develop off the robots,
Hmm.
and you'd be set.
Okay. Cool. Uh, what is your ranking of all the Transformers movies, including the '86 movie and Transformers Prime Predacons Rising?
I know that I heard you ask this to Michael, and man, we're counting Predacons Rising. I've
Yeah,
only
no,
seen it
it counts.
once. Um, that said, okay, so we talking personal preference or which is the
Yeah,
best?
just do personal preference.
All right, so personal preference, 86 movie, Bumblebee, uh, 2007 movie, Predacons Rising. Um, let's see here. Last Night,
Hmm.
uh, Dark of the Moon, Revenge of the Fallen, Age of Extinction.
Wow. I always find it mind blowing people's rankings. Like literally anyone, because I don't think I've met anyone that ranks them the exact same as me. But like everyone puts my favorites at the bottom.
Well, Age of Extinction is just a hard watch. It is. It
I
is.
love it. It's my
There's just
favorite one.
nothing. I have not watched. I have it on DVD that I got for free, and I have not even opened it to watch it. It was hard to sit through. It feels like it's three different movies.
No, I totally understand. I like by no means would I ever say it's a fantastic movie. It came out at like it's my Transformers moment, if you know what I mean. Like Age of
Mhm.
Extinction is what solidified me in this forever.
Mhm.
It came out at the right point in my life, and that's like like that's just what I needed to get me into the fandom big time after the trilogy of movies. Do you consider the first three a trilogy and then four and five like There's still sequels, obviously, but like I think like it was a soft reboot. I think Age of Extinction. I've always considered that in my head, at least.
No, I don't see it as a soft reboot, but I could see it as like a focal shift
Yeah,
because
that's what
you're
I mean
leaving
more than
Sam
like
and his family for
yeah,
something else.
yeah. Like I think it could have been a trilogy had they made six. As in, like there would be two trilogies, not necessarily like I don't think it's different continuity at all. Whenever I say reboot, I mean yeah, like a tonal, a shift in the narrative, that type of thing. But yeah, so that's just very. I always just find it so interesting. Um,
But those last two are just so even, and I like the last night, and I haven't, and I'm probably looking through it with a little bit of rose-colored glasses because I enjoyed watching it in the movie, and there were a few things I didn't like, but nothing that made me hate the film. Um, I feel like those two movies, they're just so long and so disjointed. Um, they feel like two or three different movies that didn't get pulled into bigger ideas, but instead got all slammed together into one long movie. Um,
because I think that's exactly what happened to them.
right, but there's other movies. I mean, even the '86 film, there's basically it's basically two movies, right?
Yeah.
It's part one, the getting rid of all your favorite characters, and
My
part
God.
two, here's all the new people you want to root for. And some movies work with that, like that works. Like a movie like Full Metal Jacket, a lot of people are always like, oh, the first half is better than the second half, and
Hmm.
it does feel like two different movies, but they're two pretty good movies.
Yeah.
The Bay films, the problem is that they're four movies crammed into one movie, and
Yeah. No,
trying to be
I was gonna
way
say
too
I'm not
much.
defending that decision at all. I'm saying it's very accurate. That is why they suffer. It's like, oh, here are four cool ideas. Let's make one movie about all of them. It's like, no, that's not how you should do it. But you know, I can fill in the gaps in my head. I'm okay with that. Next question is: would you rather produce a Transformers movie or a Transformers show?
I would say TV show because the role of producer in TV is much different than the role of producer in movies. So,
How so? I'm just curious.
I'm not. I've never really worked in film, but from what I've gathered, is the role of a producer in a film is a lot more about obtaining the money or putting up the money
Uh
for the
huh.
film. So a lot of it is getting financing, it's getting or putting forward your own money to help the film get made. In television, the producer takes on a lot more of a role of the director in a lot of ways, or what people perceive as the director in a film,
Hmm.
making the decisions, kind of getting everything to work together and work smoothly,
Okay.
and then kind of crafting the entire piece.
What's
So
the
whereas
director doing a TV show?
so a director in TV show is usually in charge of making sure that all the shots get done, get
Okay.
made in a way. So like there depends if you're talking about a live show or a tape show, but
Hmm.
they're directing the talent, they're directing the actors, they're making sure the cameras look right. They're overseeing all the other people's work,
Hmm.
whereas the producer is more focused on the story, the
Yeah.
arc of the story. So
Yeah.
that's where that gets changed. So I would totally love to produce a Transformers TV show.
Hmm. Cool. All right. Your final round of rapid fire.
Okay.
Favorite TF University guest?
Oh, wow. I don't want to answer that because I have a whole bunch of new ones coming. But I'll give you. Oh, I'm sorry, I just hit my microphone. I will give you. I will give you one because he just had some good news yesterday, and I think this is pretty cool. So, one of my favorite guests is my buddy Dave from D Squared Productions. Dave and I go back to when we go back to basically we started hanging out when we were like I was 14 or 13, so he's a year younger than me.
Wow.
Um, we bought Infinity. We went to the comic store and got Infinity Gauntlet #4.
Oh
So like a
wow.
bunch of us, me and a bunch of my friends, like he was a friend of a friend, and I've known Dave pretty much since then. We used to play in bands together. He is a phenomenal singer, and he works now doing music for adult films, and and I'm not even making this up. He won an AVN last night for one of his more recent. So he won basically the porn equivalent of an Emmy last night for his soundtrack to the film Hamilton. And so I am very proud of him. But he is someone who's guested on the show. He was on the Heavy Metal War episode. He did a rap song just for it, and he's got some other stuff coming up. And he did the review of Masquerade as well. So I love Dave. He's a long time friend. He's been my favorite guest to have on.
Wow, that was a really good one. Uh, Favorite Transformers podcaster?
Ooh.
You
Um,
can't say yourself. I don't
no,
think
I
you
can't.
would. I didn't think
I
you would.
wouldn't say myself. There's so many though. So
Uh,
many that I really like and respect, but it's got to be Brian Kilby. I think he started this,
yep.
He-
Yep.
and I can't not say it's Brian. So yeah, Brian Kilby for sure.
I can
Another
understand the
person
answer.
who used to hang out in Ouija. So I mean, a lot of it goes back to that little IRC channel.
Hmm. It's funny that it's still causing more stuff too. It just keeps going and going.
Yeah.
Oh, last one. Revenge of the Fallen or Machinima's Combiner Wars?
Oh, Revenge of the Fallen 6 times over.
Yes! Yes! That's awesome. I think Michael picked Combiner Wars.
I know Combiner Wars is unwatchable.
That's what I think. I mean, I thought that Titan's Return and Power of the Primes were improvements on it, but and still rough though for sure. But Combiner Wars is like I would never even dare go back.
Yeah, yeah. I tried. I didn't even do the other two because I was just so put off by the first one, and it bums me out too because like Frank is the voice of Starscream on that, and he's another person that goes way back into the fandom,
Hmm.
and he's a good dude. I really would have wanted that to be better just for him and some of the other voice talent on there. Um, but yeah, it's just unwatchable. I mean, the plot is kind of all over the place, and just I watched it once and I suffered through it. And um, the better question, honestly, for your next one, you should say Combiner Wars, Machinima's Combiner Wars, or Energon. That's a tougher choice.
Uh, I would ask that question only to older people that I have on the show because anyone that is around my age, that would not be a hard choice whatsoever because Energon would mean more to them.
Fair enough. I punched out on Energon after 7 episodes, and I've never gone back and watched the rest of it.
I still need to finish it. It wasn't like it was. It's I'm at the right age where that could have been my time period, but it just wasn't. It didn't get my attention at the time. But I know plenty other people that are my age that that's their emotional tie that they have to the franchise. So it's interesting. Okay. So I think that's about it. So where can people find you and your podcast and everything you have going on that we've discussed?
All right, so let's start at the top. So the website is www.tfu.info. There is no .com, there is no .net. It is .info. That is the home of the website, the toy archive. You can actually access some of the videos from the front page on the YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/tfu.info. The podcast is available. If you listen to this podcast, you probably can get Transformers University. We're available on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and Spotify, and I'm sure a few other places that have picked up the feed. And as far as me, you can reach out to me on Twitter is usually where I'm at, and that's at TFU_info. Also on Facebook at facebook.com/TFUinfo, Instagram.com/TFUinfo. And if you want to email me, I don't check it as often as I should, but info@tfu.info is the website's email address.
Email's hard to keep up on.
Yeah, and I don't have that one on my phone. I do have it on my iPad, so like I'm really
Okay.
bad. I don't look at it as often as I should.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, think that'll do it for this episode. So, if you want to check out other Nerdy Geek Talk shows, as mentioned, basically wherever you're listening to this. So just listen to the other listen to the other shows by subscribing to Nerdy Geek Talk wherever you listen to podcasts. Follow Nerdy Geek Talk at Nerdy Geek Talk on Twitter to get notified whenever the shows go up. And I'm at Eric Crowbar on Twitter if you're curious about that. So thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
So yeah.